Discover your learning options at the Institute for Mergers, Acquisitions, and Alliances. We understand that each professional has unique needs. That's why we offer flexible learning options designed to help you achieve your goals while accommodating your busy lifestyle. Select from our comprehensive M&A certification programs and decide when, where, and in which format you would like to participate in. Our on-site classes deliver an immersive and intensive learning experience in different locations across the globe. Connect and network with fellow professionals while strengthening cross-cultural understanding and broadening your perspective. Prefer studying from your office or home? Our virtual live classes provide the same high-quality instruction and interaction, all in a convenient and accessible format. Short on time? No worries. Our online self-study classes are accessible 24/7, allowing you to earn your certification at your own pace. Whichever you choose, you'll be joining a global network of professionals committed to excellence. Choose EMA and elevate your career in mergers and acquisitions. The webinar is about to begin. Please stand by.
Hello to everyone joining us today from various corners of the globe, and welcome to today's webinar, AI-Powered Strategies for Talent Integration and M&A. It's wonderful to see some familiar names joining us once more. If you're here with us for the very first time, allow me to give a brief introduction on IMAA and this webinar. We are the Institute for Mergers, Acquisitions and Alliances, or IMAA. We're the global #1 think tank in mergers and acquisitions and the leading institution in M&A certification, trainings, and executive education. We will organize these webinars and serve as a platform for the wider M&A community. My name is Dr. Christopher Kumar. I am the founder and CEO of IMAA. It's my pleasure to welcome you today. Before we dive into the heart of today's topic, I'd like to mention that we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Nicole Jokic will join later for an outlook on upcoming events, while Nima Nogreka will be moderating our Q&A. We encourage you to jot down any questions you might have during the webinar so that our experts can address them later on. The chat is available for everyone, so please send us your questions via this chat with our experts and our IMAA team on standby to address your questions. Let's turn the pages to AI. At IMAA, we look into AI a lot and what impact this actually has on M&A and its processes, from strategy, deal sourcing, due diligence, valuation, legal, and HR aspects, as well as integration, just to name a few. If you missed our thought leadership piece on AI's future role in M&A, have a look at our blog, and we will soon publish another blog post with specific AI tools you can use. We'll continue webinars to cover new AI tools on our website, and so stay tuned. However, let's look into today's webinar about using AI in HR and post-merge integration. But when writing this introduction, I thought, let's give AI a go to come up with the introduction. And this is what I came up with. Hold on to your digital hats, because this intro comes straight from the circuits of ChatGPT, the AI that sometimes makes mistakes, cat for a toaster. Today's webinar, it's all about the thrilling world of artificial intelligence in, wait for it, mergers and acquisitions. Dive deep into the electrifying, but literally, we hope, real of M&A in today's fast-paced, caffeine-driven economy. We'll unpack how AI, with its occasional cat toaster mix-ups, is reshaping the M&A scene, from quality checks to spotting talent who can tell their left foot from their right. Thanks to AI-powered talent intelligence, organizations are now equipped with a crystal ball, batteries not included, to make M&A decisions that are sharper than a cheddar cheese. Ready to embark on this roller coaster of M&A revelations with a sprinkle of AI magic? Buckle up and let's roll. How did this one go? Well, back from AI fiction to reality and true expertise. IMAA has invited experts from Mercer, a globally recognized consulting leader dedicated to advancing the health, wealth, and performance of their clients' most crucial assets, the people. It's my pleasure to welcome Aaron Chaum, Senior Principal at Mercer M&A Advisory Services, who brings robust experience in managing sizable acquisition pipelines and innovating in talent acquisition through strategic data visualization. And also Julie van Waveren, partner at Mercer M&A Business, a strategic thinker specializing in leadership and talent assessment within M&As, known for a unique blend of business and P&L leadership and talent strategy on a global scale. Without further ado, let us all give a warm virtual applause to Aaron and Julie.
Hi, everybody. Great. Julie, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Great. All right. Excellent. And hopefully everybody is seeing my screen here. So I'll go ahead and just quickly say hi. My name is Aaron Chaum. I lead Mercer's Northern California market practice. You can see the great San Francisco skyline there behind me. Looking forward to the discussion today. So I'll hand it over to Julie to quickly introduce herself.
Sure. Hi everyone. Julie Van Waveren, partner in M&A Business, and really excited to be sharing today some of the learnings on how we are leveraging and augmenting AI in the deal space related to integrating talent. So let us start by taking a macro view on AI and the role it plays in growth and deals agenda. We decided to start off there. AI, as you can see, is one of the main transformation processes crossing all our businesses today. So this means that we need to stop thinking of AI just as a tool, a technology to be implemented, as AI is and will be a way of operating our businesses, engaging with clients, getting work done, and delivering on our growth agendas. Now, from a deal standpoint, from an M&A standpoint, this means that most of our deals today and in the near future will have an AI component to it. And if you think of specifically the role of generative AI and how it's playing out in different industries, let's say healthcare in terms of imaging analysis and patient engagement, in the auto industry on interactive simulations and accidents to train autonomous vehicles, in banking, the personalization of financial recommendations and predictions, you name it. AI will drive our M&A investment. And for us as deal teams, this has very specific implications and has challenges that will get augmented in terms of talent and integrating talent. These will have unique talent implications to manage diversity of cultures. We will need to integrate teams with very specialized skills. There will be a lot more pressure in terms of retention of these scarce talent and skills in a highly competitive market. And it has implications on new ways of working and starting cultures to integrate. So that's why it's not surprising that when we did our recent research with CEOs and CFOs, 60% of CEOs and CFOs expect demand of their products and services to grow. Now they see talent as their number one challenge in delivering growth and meeting demand. So there's been like a common theme that's taking over my thought process lately, which is how many of us as deal teams end up repeating same processes on how we integrate talent that oftentimes isn't when planned and rolls from deal to deal until we get to a point where reality hits and the deal has not delivered on expected returns and value. We need to get better, do better, and perform better in integrating talent. And that's why today is such an important topic for us to discuss, as people are at the center of delivering the value in deal. Now, let's take a deep dive on how talent looks in terms of risks and values in M&A, and Aaron will share more perspectives around that.
I really enjoyed the intro from Julie because it speaks to what's happening in the market around M&A. But as we're here to talk about M&A, let's turn the lens there. I always find this some of the research that we have on this slide very interesting because it speaks to some of the main people and talent risks that are weighing heavily on executives' minds. You can see over on the left-hand side, talent skill gaps are a number one priority for executives. And 89% of executives expect their organization to have talent issues ahead. So marrying in with the deal thesis and the background and the approach for acquisitions that companies are taking, we are seeing a lot of talent being a number one driver in the deal thesis. They're critical to the M&A in most scenarios and in many industries. At the same time, a lot of our research is pretty alarming on what talent means in M&A and how it can drive either value creation or value destruction. So you can see in that center box there, people and talent issues we've found in our research are key drivers of value. That 7% of transactions fail to meet their financial targets due to people-related risks, and some pretty alarming statistics around talent retention in the time shortly after and most critical for the deal post-close. And then as well that you see productivity loss, customer disruption, flight of key talent. All of that being said, the box on the right-hand side was probably the most alarming box that I found in our research when considering all the different impacts that M&A can have on your people or the people in a target company in the scope of a transaction. When I saw these statistics, I actually asked myself, am I in the right line of work? When you see that, with M&A as a key milestone for organizations, that there's, an 8% increase of the likelihood of being diagnosed with depression when going through a deal, and a 5% increase in the likelihood of being admitted to the hospital. So what does this all tell us? One, that talent is critical to being successful in the market today, that talent is a make or break aspect of any deal, that it is very, very challenging, and that in that moment, in that deal context, the very talent that is so critical to the deal is undergoing an enormous amount of stress. It can be considered one of those very, very challenging life events. So all this to say that talent is an incredibly important part of how we see deals being successful or not in the market, and it's a particular pain point for the clients that we work with. So moving us along a little bit, try to dig into what exactly is it about talent and people topics that are driving some of this value creation or value destruction in the context of a deal. And we can understand that it can be difficult to get some of these things right around talent in deals. You can see on the left some of the hot topics, key aspects of people strategy that were derailed in deals. Unsurprisingly, the leadership team, the organizational culture, employee retention, 3 of the top 4 in the in issues that derail value in the deal. And then, not surprisingly, over on the right, a little bit of a further breakdown of those stats that I shared with you on the prior slide, drilling into the average percentage of critical talent retained post-deal. And that's where you get to that, that alarming number at the end for 18 to 24 months. So at the end of the day, now with a little bit more detailed numbers in front of us, we can really start to unpack what are the main people issues that are driving this value creation or destruction in deals. And that allows us to help create a list of questions that we're hoping, and I'll hand it over in a couple minutes to Julie to talk you through how we're using AI to help tackle and bring light to darkness for some of these questions. But as you saw from the last slide, leadership, culture, critical talent, key questions that are being asked by by serial and sophisticated acquirers. I won't read every single one on here. Certainly some food for thought. But understanding some of the the barriers and the leadership team dynamics that can either get in the way or drive success with a deal. How likely is this leadership team to be retained? The culture of the organization, what style and culture of leadership? How are decisions made? What's the talent flow of a target that you're considering in the course of a deal? And what's the quality of the people? How do you have how are these people arrayed against the skills that are available in the market? How critical is it to retain particular elements of the talent? So we feel like if you can help to answer these questions, bring more sophisticated means to answering these questions, ideally leveraging all the tools at our disposal, you can help to unwrap or address some of the sticky challenges that we just talked about that talent continues to be at the epicenter of. In either deal value creation or value destruction, as we said. So, with that stage and understanding that M&A is difficult, that people are one of the most difficult challenges that are key to the deal, and that there are a lot of great questions that we need to start, answering better. And with all the tools at our disposal, I'll hand it over to Julie to talk to you a little bit about how we are using AI to unlock that lock or untie that knot. So over to you, Julie.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Aaron. So this is so exciting. We as Mercer have been working for a few years now in trying to solve for these client questions that Aaron just shared, right? What's the quality of the talent? How do we know that we have good enough of talent to deliver on deal value? How do we retain a lot more effectively, etc.? And what we have found is that most of deal teams look at talent, what we say, downstream in the deal, right? Or rely on qualitative sources like management meetings, interviews, and pre-close, right? Now, more mature and progressive deal teams are leveraging technology and AI today to better assess and plan for talent and talent integration. Though our experience has been that they take mostly what we call a static or backward view of looking at talent by scraping publicly available information, right? what we have learned is that we do have the ability with AI and specifically with talent intelligence platforms to help us up the game in how we integrate talent. Now, like to Aaron's question, how do we do that, right? And as you can see from this slide, is we are moving away from just consolidating or scraping experiences background, that it in simplest form is, like, let's say, for example, LinkedIn profiles, to better understand people career trajectories and what does that tell us on skills that we are acquiring, what can it infers in terms of the skills and capabilities that people will be able to deliver in the near future and the near term. So it's not only what people have done and skills and experiences to date, but mostly will this talent and will this organization that I'm acquiring deliver on the future growth and my future business needs. If you think about it, it's mind-blowing, right? That we as deal teams have the ability to get insights on talent and predict and infer and plan more strategically on how to integrate that is a leapfrog from what we are doing today. And we can do it a lot earlier than where we're doing it in the deal sequence, right? So I'm sure now you're asking yourself, like, what does it look like? How do we do it? How does it play out? Let us walk you through two client stories. With Aaron, we'll share the learnings on how we've been able to leverage insights on talent in pre-close and in post-close to drive deal value. So the first one that I share is a global healthcare organization. This is a deal approximately 2 years ago. So remember, we were in the midst of the pandemic. Anything related to clinical research, immunoassay development, etc., was sort of highly sought in the market. And this deal, the M&A team and the business leader had two critical questions that they wanted to solve for, right? The first one is, this is an organization that we believe has the capabilities and skills that we need to grow and to deliver on our client and customers' demand. We are planning to invest more than $10 million in retaining this leadership team. So the first question is this team worth it, right? And the second one is looking beyond the leadership team. We are very specifically acquiring this company because of their two critical capabilities that relate to our deal strategy, right? That is immunoassay and clinical research. Does this target have good amount and good enough of these capabilities and skills that will deliver on the deal value? So very specific questions. And the way that we were able to address this was leveraging talent intelligence or talent insights through AI. And we were able to compare target organization that was mid-sized company. We came up with the 3 or 5 list of high competitors that they had in their space to be able also to benchmark the quality and the quantity of that target, and identify also skills and capabilities from the leadership team without any, let's say, human intervention. And the learnings, I'll share a bit and I'll summarize that at the end, but what we found and that the client was able to course correct in the diligence phase to plan better on post-close integration was, the first one was on the leadership team, right? Very seasoned and experienced professional, have been working in the industry for many years. They came from different smaller integrations of companies, so were highly specialized, but lacked the capabilities to effectively integrate the organization and architect a growth strategy, right? So good learning to know that good people that can lead a business, but will need some support in terms of how we architect growth going forward. Then there was a specificity on the leadership team key members. So for two of the critical roles, what we saw that if we looked at what was needed in the near future, there might be some capabilities or skills gap, right? So an action around proving further if those were the right leaders. And then very interestingly was the view that we could take in pre-close beyond that leadership team in being able to understand if the skills and capabilities that were driving the deal strategy, how much were those skills available across organization to sustain the growth beyond the leadership team. So these were some of the key learnings. Let us walk you quickly on how we learned that, right? So the first thing that we did is take a view on leadership and the organization, right? So as you can see on this screen, we have overall workforce on the left-hand side, right-hand side, the leadership team. And what we were looking to compare is beyond these seasoned and experienced professionals, right, sitting in the leadership team, do we have good amount of talent beyond that? And even much so in some mid-layer positions in case we would not be able to retain all this leadership team. So as you can see, the color coding speaks not only to the proficiency and quality of those skills, but also speaks to green being skills that are strong in the market and rising, blue being current skills required in the market, and the red ones, the one that are phasing out. So this was a team that had good skills and then had the skills required for the near future in terms of how the industry is evolving and where the market was going, right? So that's the first view that we took to better inform those two questions. Now, the other view was in terms of the competitiveness of this target, right? So questions around, okay, are they worth the $10 million in retention? And is this deal worth it in terms of the capabilities that we are trying to acquire? We compared and contrasted to 5 key competitors in their space. And what we were able to learn, if you see on the left-hand side of the chart, that is like sort of the mapping of the target organization, is that in everything related to clinical research and also immunology, lab operations, etc., this was a competitive target, right? So they were really good at what they were doing versus competitors. Although competitors had like sort of an edge also in terms of clinical research, but we were comparing all type of sizes of organizations to get a sense of where the target was in and in what phase, right? So second question, are they worth it, right? Is this a good target? We were able to quantify that from a talent standpoint. And then we did a drill down. So remember that one of the question was, we are looking for 2 very specific capabilities and skills that we are acquiring for. Like, does this company and team have good amount of that? And how does that can better inform our retention strategy? So this was really a very exciting view in terms of looking at both those skills and capabilities. So you can see on the left-hand side skill A, you can see on the right-hand side skill B. And what we did is take a deep dive on the target on how many of these skills do we have across the org and how does that compare to market, right? And what we learned is that beyond the leadership team, that $10 million investment in retention, there were very specific roles and individuals that needed to be targeted very closely post-close to be able to retain, because there were few in the target organization, but there were also very few in the competitive market to be able to hire from, right? And a highly competitive market. Versus another skill that there was more availability in the market, not that it would be easy to hire, but at least it informed a lot better on what is needed to integrate talent in post-close and where do we put our focus to be able to be much more effective. So another view on that, on how one can leverage these talent intelligence to better inform what needs to be addressed in post-close and plan accordingly. And the last view is in terms of the sustainability of this target, right? So one of the concerns was, is this team able to sustain growth over time, given how people have been managed over time? So we weren't able to get a lot on the data room around like documents, etc. This was not a company that was like highly documented process around people, etc. But we were able to see the skills that they had lost in the past year and the skills that they had been able to acquire. So it spoke to what they were looking for, how effective that was, and then you can take a deeper dive on the charts to better understand like what they had been hiring from that were these two critical capabilities, but were not losing too much of that, right? So at least in the past year, they had been able to retain that talent, and they needed to retain that going forward. So spoke a bit to the sustainability and also to the proficiency of that talent to be able to integrate. So again, key takeaways, right? How we can augment that in our knowledge around talent and pre-close, but mostly how we can plan around the leadership team, the capabilities that they will have to drive the growth agenda and deal thesis, the ability to create a more strategic and focused retention plan, and then what would be the challenges to engage and make this organization thrive in post-close in the post-close phase. So one example, very quickly, but at least to give you a sense of the art of the possible in pre-close. And now I'll turn it to Aaron that has a brilliant example of how we can leverage AI in talent integration in post-close.
Great, thanks, Julie. So this is a problem statement that many of you on the line have probably come across in some flavor or another in your experience doing deals. We were supporting a technology company that was looking to select the talent to position it for the best future success from amongst a host of past acquisitions. So looking to consolidate a number of acquired companies that came from a legacy of acquisitions over the years into a new combined organization that would be better positioned in the market going forward. So that parent company of these subsidiaries had a really difficult problem statement. They wanted to select the best talent for this integrated organization in a consistent and defensible way, but they wanted to do it almost entirely confidentially with a very limited amount of data available and a very limited amount of individuals involved in the process. So they wanted to understand, what data on skills, experience, and capabilities can be provided to that very limited under the tent leadership team to better inform those people decisions. And so, using a similar platform to what Julie was describing before, we set about tackling this very, very difficult problem. How do you essentially select the most critical talent for an organization without ever speaking to those people, meeting them, interviewing them, or having access to really any detailed data on the individuals? So how did we approach it? We reviewed over 1,000 candidates for 200 senior leadership roles. We worked very closely with the client to define a critical set of leadership skills and behaviors that were going to be, inherent to success in this revised business strategy. And then using the platform, we stack rank candidates based on their roles, skills, and prior experience relevance. And this was AI powered. So I'm going to walk you through in the coming slides a little bit more detail on how we approach this. But I wanted to start by summarizing some of those key findings and outcomes that we had. So we were able to help this client in this very difficult challenge. We were able to bring a wealth of knowledge and information on these candidates to that executive leadership team to make informed decisions. Really the alternative would have been nothing, a blank page of information essentially. So as I said before, bringing light to darkness, this was a great example of that, where they would not have had this other information. They would have been sorting through stacks of resumes, et cetera. And that allowed us to identify this best fit versus the required skills and behaviors that we had defined with them. And also, very, very important, this was a defensible, data-driven process that was was fit for the future organization and had proper documentation to support it. So if you can kind of envision this remit of selecting talent from amongst people that you don't have the opportunity to really dig into and interview, this is a great option to help accelerate a process and maintain that confidentiality. So I'll move us along to a little bit about how this process worked. We started off with something that probably many of you have worked on in the scope of a restructuring, which is defining a compliant process that leveraged the AI insights to make these decisions. You can see here what that process looked like, defining the new co-strategy and roles, and then identifying the talent pool, sorting the talent, stack ranking it based on its qualifications and abilities to deliver on those future strategies and leadership behaviors and skills that were required. So this is a practical process, that was governed, heavily by time constraints. As we all know, time is our enemy in many deals, and so we designed a pragmatic process to address that. And here's where we start getting into the stack ranking and the more detailed part of the AI process. So remember, we helped work with that leadership team to define a set of skills and behaviors, and then using both a mix of internal, so non-public data, things like resumes, performance evaluation, things of that nature, as well as publicly available data. So a mix, a combination, the scraping of publicly available data on sources like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, et cetera. We were able to gather a quite comprehensive set of information on the skills, profiles, and behaviors of these individuals, and bring that light to darkness for the executives that were considering the talent for these critical roles. So you can see down at the bottom there an example of what that skill, title, and experience relevance were for each of these individuals. And it allowed these executives to have a much deeper view on whether or not they would be a good fit for the future organization. I do want to take a pause and qualify here. I feel like in the scope of the conversation on AI in the market today, there's a lot of pros to the use of AI-powered tools to drive speed, accuracy, right? And empower M&A teams to achieve what maybe would not have been, possible previously. I think this client story is a good example of something like that. But there are also some limitations that we'll talk to a little bit when we start looking towards the wrap up of our presentation and some of the trends that we're seeing and where we predict AI use in talent and M&A is going to go. And that is, as we all know, you would love to have perfect data in every deal, but you rarely do. And in this case, this was long post-close. Data availability was relatively good, certainly better than using a data room. And yet at the same time, we ran into data constraints, right? We did not have updated documentation on every individual. Some of the subsidiaries used very different practices, data management techniques, et cetera. So as always, data integrity, data cleanliness is going to be a key to success when leveraging AI tools to accomplish what may not have previously been possible. In this case, we were able to do it. We were able to accelerate and deliver a lot of great insights, but there still were some limitations. So with that, I want to move us along from our last client story and spend a few minutes wrapping up and talking about some of the final critical considerations that we have.
Yeah, that's great, Aaron. Yeah. So look, some final thoughts that we had with Aaron to share, and then we'll address the questions in your chat that really exciting. We see many coming in. The first one is starting from the beginning, right? Our businesses and organizations are transforming. AI drives a lot of that transformation and the deal agenda today and in the near future. We as an M&A team need to evolve, right, and transform. So the more that we can get savvy on the talent, leadership, culture topics, the more that we can leverage technology to augment our work and better inform how to integrate talent, the better. In our conversations day in, day out with clients, anything related to what have been war stories in your deals, what has hindered growth, why haven't you been able to achieve expected returns in the expected time frame, everything goes down at the end of the day to talent, to people executing and delivering on a growth strategy and agenda, right? So there's the two views to that. From a deals team standpoint, how we can change the way that we are addressing talent in deals and getting a lot more info in pre-close to plan more for post-close, a lot more front center in terms of post-close on how we strategically integrate talent. So everything from a deal team standpoint, right? And then also from an employee standpoint, right? There is the talent market for the critical roles, the capabilities that we need, the skills that will move our growth going forward as a business. Those are critical and will be always challenged, scarce, and competitive, right? So we need also to create ways and leverage AI to be able to give a lot more, I would say, independence, a lot more accountability, and a lot more of opportunity to employees to be able to understand where they are and where they can move to, so that we can engage and thrive and integrate better, right? And then the last one, I leave it to Aaron, because I know that he's very passionate about this topic around delivering what we need to deliver and finishing on meeting our commitments. So Aaron, your thoughts on that one?
Thanks, Julie. And this comes much from my time leading HR M&A at a large tech company here prior to my time at Mercer. I was not just a consultant. I was also in the midst of having to track deals across their life cycle. And one of the things that was always top of mind for me was not just letting a deal settle. You need to really drive towards conclusion. And so one of our positions is that M&A is a classic example of failure to finish, because oftentimes there's a heavy emphasis on pre-close, transaction negotiation, and close, and the sort of short runway afterwards to get to integration. But we think that that AI tools are actually going to be a real difference maker in allowing organizations to stay focused, to accelerate the people decisions, i.e. retention, staffing, organization design, the reorganization of teams, all of these things that are difficult problems. They take a lot of work, they take a lot of focus, and they're oftentimes left by the wayside as you're pushing through to complete the sort of must-haves of integration. And so we feel like AI tools like the Talent Insights tool and others are going to allow deal teams and leaders to drive decision-making, all of this faster with better data, more information at their hands to make better decisions and achieve better results during that value stabilization phase post-close, when really, if we're all honest with ourselves, a lot of that value creation happens in that post-close phase when you are stabilizing teams, retaining talent, and really achieving those synergies that you modeled into that financial model before the deal was consummated. So, this is a particular area where I'm excited about the opportunities that AI has to accelerate and enhance and optimize the work of deal teams, especially in the talent area. So I appreciate the walkthrough here, and hopefully you all have lots of questions for us. Before we get to those and some of the wrap up from the IMMA team, I just wanted to summarize some of the resources that we do have available at Mercer. We'd love to stay in touch with you. You've got our contact information there in the bottom left, some of our recent articles, reports. And for those who aren't into reading white papers, we also have audio in the form of podcast replays and things of that nature. You can find some more time with Julie and I in some of those podcasts as well. So with that, I think we'll at this point we'll hand it back to the IMAA team to talk to you about some upcoming activities they have. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Aaron and Julie, for that wonderful discussion. I appreciate Aaron's comment that talent and skill acquisition is the #1 priority for executives. Further adding to that by Julie, integrating teams with very specialized skills in a highly competitive market is also a very important point to consider. While you put your questions in the chat, I will pass on to my colleague, Nicole, who who is the Director of our Business Development for North America.
Thank you so much, Nima. And thank you so much, Julie and Aaron, for your insights. And definitely looking forward to having some of those questions answered from our audience. But before we hop into the Q&A quickly, I would just like to introduce myself. My name is Nicole Jokic. I'm Director of Business Development at the Institute for Mergers, Acquisitions, and Alliances. We have a lot of upcoming programs till the end of the year, so I'm happy to share some of the M&A certification programs we're going to be offering. That's including our International Mergers and Acquisitions Expert Program, as well as our Certified Post-Merger Integration Expert Program. We're going to be offering these on-site in New York City from the 23rd to the 27th of October. If you're not able to make it on-site, we're also going to be offering virtually live from the 14th to the 13th to the 24th of November. In addition, we're also going to be having an exciting virtual evaluation training with Professor Aswath Damodaran. This is going to be offered from the 6th to 9th November. If you're looking to enhance your valuation skills and learn from one of the world's leading valuation experts, this is a great opportunity. If you're not able to make it to the valuation training or one of our certification programs, don't worry, we're having plenty of free webinars happening until the end of the year. We're going to be offering a webinar. Our next upcoming webinar is going to be on how to value small and medium enterprises. This is going to be with speakers from Volutico, so we're very excited to welcome them back. We're happy to stay engaged with you all as well, so please follow us on social media to receive updates on upcoming events and webinars, as well as reach out to us on our website. You can find us at www.imaa-institute.org or send us an email at info@imaa-institute.org. We also have our 2024 program calendar finalized, so do reach out if you're interested in receiving updated information regarding our upcoming programs for 2024. I'll go ahead and hand back over to Nima. Thank you so much, and yeah.
Thank you, Nicole, for these wonderful opportunities. I hope that our audience will be able to take advantage of them. So we have many questions. While my dear colleagues bring them one by one on screen, I will read it out, and then maybe you can decide who would like to address that, or if both of you would like to comment on each question. So that would be your decision. If we can have the first question chronologically. Are you speaking from both an acquiring company and a target company perspective? This came very early in the presentation.
Yeah, great, Nima and Aaron. I take a pass at this one. So look, the approach that we took today was a lot on the deal teams from a buyer standpoint, right, or a buyer standpoint, and even the use cases. That said, this can be applied also for seller companies, right, and targets. And what do I mean by this? It's very nascent in our space, but we have seen mostly in the private equity space how one can leverage a skills view from a value standpoint, right? And what that means is, remember that at the beginning we said is, can we quantify the quality, the quantity, and the competitiveness of our talent, and how can that better inform talent strategies? Yes, we can. You can take to that a buyer or a seller view, right, in terms of how you position that, but it can be done. And I think that hopefully from all our presentation today, you got the point that talent is equal to value and what drives growth, right? So the more that you can quantify that and put it in the value agenda, if it's from a buyer or a seller standpoint, that's where we'll be headed, right? So that's what we see. Though, as we are saying, it's very nascent from a seller standpoint right now.
Talent is the name of the game. I really like that. Next question, please. What are the limitations of what AI can do in deals? Wonderful question. I think
Aaron, you want to take that one?
I apologize because I'm getting, I think that the question is, what are the limitations of what AI can do in deals? this is an interesting one. I referred to it a little bit in my presentation, but data availability is one of the greatest limitations. An example in which we were able to bring a lot of great information, a lot of fantastic data to support what we could find and share. So this is going to be the real challenge of AI empowered and enabled deal teams, all architected data infrastructure, that they're structured, well organized, and constantly updated, and that they have a very clear and decisive approach, combined with great tools to gather data from target companies, and then maintain it, store it, categorize it, etc. You may have the data, but you can't properly review it, scrape it, access it, or you just simply don't have the data you need, in which case AI really is not going to be able to do and is.
Next question, please. I think Aaron. Were there any components, inputs from an organizational culture's perspective that went into defining talent management strategy? If so, can you share some of these? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So thank you for bringing that up, to the one who brought that up. So look, we see leadership, culture, and talent like everything is one thing at the end of the day, right? We have a strategy and we have a deal strategy, but culture is the way a company or organization operates that will deliver on the expected results. So in practical terms, what does this mean? When we look at skills and we look at an organization, there's a lot that we learn upfront on culture. So in very pragmatic terms, the examples that we shared with Aaron today, we can map what we call technical skills across an organization, but also what we call power skills. And that speaks to how work gets done and speaks to culture. So to the question is, can we get inputs on culture for a deal that better inform a talent strategy? Yes, we can. And then there's the second view to that we always say is get a lot more savvy on how talent is managed. And that goes beyond only the leadership team. It has to do with the policies or practices that an organization has. And oftentimes what we get as an answer is, well, there's not access to, like, I don't know, the HR lead at this time, this deed is confidential, etc. And in total honesty, my reaction to that is, why not? This is the individual that we can speak to, or people that can tell us more on how good and how effectively is talent managed, right? So to your question, we have a lot of collateral, we have a lot of research, and we have podcasts of culture in deals. But yes, the answer is we can take a culture view that better informs talent strategy and how we integrate talent more effectively based on that culture learnings, right? And what drives culture and way of working and retention, and what is key to either change or to or maintain.
Thank you very much, Julie, for that comprehensive answer. I think there's some delay on my side. How do we prepare our deal teams to address talent and AI in deals?
Aaron, you want to take that one?
This is a great question, and I heard somebody tell me that I was lagging a little bit, so hopefully it's improved. Apologies, but I referenced part of the answer here already, which is to prepare yourself from a data perspective. I think oftentimes we complain about the availability of data at a target, but also you have to have good data hygiene internally. So putting those processes in place so that your plans, your program, your documentation is actually you're going to need to for you tools that we're using technology strategy is going to be really, really critical. Technology strategy, you've got your data managed place and correctly. Then you're going to need to train your people and prepare. There's some change. You got some here you do deals and how you manage your tools. So using something new is always exciting, and it's going to take some time and some ship to drive towards the use of those tools. So and then trains of AI. In deal.
Thank you very much, Aaron. We may be able to squeeze in one last answer or comment from both speakers. If you would like to have some final comments, this has been a wonderful topic and wonderful webinar. So we appreciate you being here. If you have any final comments before we also close the webinar.
Yeah, so thank you, Nima. This has been super exciting. We think that there's so much that we as deal teams can keep on learning and evolving. I would leave it to these two things. The first one is we need to get talent savvy, right? So we as deals teams need to fluently speak to that and be able to understand what are the things that we should be looking at, what are the things that we should be assessing. So that's one thing. And the second learning or thought is AI won't solve all our questions, right? Data is data, and there are some things that AI will be able to augment in terms of what we can learn and understand and address. But we still have a lot to do in terms of how to use those insights around talent to be able to better plan and have a strategy that follows through with a roadmap on implementation around integrating talent effectively versus being on fire drill on the talent side each time we get into post-close. So exciting times to come, a lot more to share. As Aaron mentioned before, this is an open discussion, so please do reach out and we are happy to either thought-provoke or share a lot more on what we've learned and we are seeing in this space.
Thank you, Julie. That was wonderful. Aaron, do you have any closing comments? I'm not sure if you have a connection delay with you. Okay, that's all the time.
Yeah, I do apologize. You know, as we're talking about. At the time.
I think we lost Aaron, Nima.
Apologies for our technical issues. Aaron, if you're still with us and you would like to share your closing remarks, we are experiencing a little bit of a delay. Okay. Then thank you everyone for being here. This is all the time we have for today. We really appreciate your participation, your comments, and your questions, and we hope to see you in our future webinars and events. Thank you, Julie and Aaron. This was wonderful. We would love to have you back again with future improvements and developments to share your thoughts and insights. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Bye.